Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Mayday Media. We're pointing out a few articles on the internet. One of them today is breaking down the 1.3 trillion, that's trillion with a T, in NATO defense spending. 1.3 trillion. And it looks like it's a little bit lopsided when you take a look at who's spending most of it. Yeah, yeah, that's, boy. And all we get out of it is debt. Is that correct? I think that's kind of all we get out of it is just debt. Dollar rides a wave of U.S. exceptionalism to reign supreme, and look at her go, buddy boy. I mean, she is unstoppable. At, it's gonna bite us in the ass, make no mistake about it. And it's probably gonna start around 2025 and just slowly spiral down, most likely. We're going to hit both of these articles. This was a very, very long one. I'm just going to hit a few on this. Um, but before we do, uh, like, subscribe, help me out a little bit here, guys. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, is a political and military. Try that again here. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, is a political and military alliance comprising 31 countries. Its primary purpose is to facilitate cooperation among member nations, ensuring mutual defense and security. This graphic, via visual capitalist Mark Liu, breaks down the expected defense expenditures of NATO members in 2023 using data from NATO and based on current prices and exchange rates. So we got Germany at about 68.1 billion. We got the UK at 65.8 billion. As you can see, it's for France 56 billion. As you can see, it pretty much trickles down after that. A lot of this is based on their, GDP and their state size. The fact that most of these are in some kind of a European Union. When that happened, that pretty much destroyed all of Europe when they merged. But the U.S. dominance of NATO's defense spending. NATO defines defense expenditure as payments made by a national government. You know what? Thinking of that, when I was in high schools, when the euro and all that shit was happening, they were talking about all becoming the United States of Europe. And my geology teacher says that would have been the best thing for them. But that never happened. Instead, it seemed like they just all became member states of NATO, and but I don't know if that would have been the best thing for them. The United States of Europe, if they'd had a republic, but of course, they don't have gun rights over there anymore, hardly. Excluding regional, local, and municipal authorities, specifically fulfillment. If you think, if you got any comments on that timeline at least, do you think that Europe would have been stronger as a United States of Europe, or do you think that would have made them even weaker? Because it seems like after they all formed up in the NATO branch, it seemed like that's when they got weaker to me. They were forcing Germany to pay for. No, see, they were forcing who was it to pay for Germany at one point. So I don't know. Maybe that would have made them a stronger unit. I'm not really sure, but let's get back to this here. It requires members to spend at least 2% of its GDP on defense. A major component of defense expenditures includes payment for active armed forces personnel as well as retired pensioners. Expenditures for stockpiling war reserves of military equipment or supplies are also included. Additionally, it encompasses expenditures for peacekeeping and humanitarian operations, as well as the destruction of weapons. The U.S. is by far the largest contributor to NATO's budget at 860 billion spent by the organization, representing 68% of the total expenditure. The amount is over 10 times more than the second place country, Germany. Yes, it is. Here's the breakdown of all of them, and it is other. Well, who's other? Portugal, 4 billion. That's the lowest, I guess. But other, I mean, Expected spending in 2023, the U.S. defense spending within the NATO arms aims to support European allies, deter adversaries like Russia, and gain access to additional military resources, among other objectives. In 2018, President Trump sent a letter to NATO allies demanding that they spend more on defense to meet the 2% minimum target. In recent years, however, the U.S. has increased its spending, experienced a 6% jump compared to 2021. So Trump actually tried to get them to spend a little more, but at the same time, we spent more, I guess, is how that went. The future of NATO, after 2 years since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, NATO has mostly maintained its unity against Moscow. The alliance has expanded with Finland's membership in 2023 and will likely include Sweden soon. That's the end of the article. And with the Trump thing, like I said, he demanded them to spend more money to meet their 2% minimum. At the same time, we're spending more money. So while you're looking at this number that they're not doing what they're doing, he's putting more of your tax money in there too. That's something that slick salesmen are pretty good at, sliding things by you. I'm not a Trump or Biden fan. I don't like Ted Cruz would be the dude that I would want into office. If you look at his constitutional voting record, it's like a 99%. I mean, it's unbelievable. He's really the one that you would want in there, but nobody recognizes that. Dollar rides a wave of the U.S. exceptionalism to reign supreme. This is a very long story. I'm not going to hit it all. It's just too long. There's a subtext in this year's blistering rally in U.S. assets. When it comes to the dollar, there is no alternative. And boy, you betcha. I mean, look at that. And here's the thing. I mean, we have printed out the wazoo. And I really, with our military, I guess that's how we're keeping it strong. But at the same time, you got the BRICS nations. You've got all this other stuff going in rubles. I see the ruble as the next world currency. It'll be some years from now, but it looks to be the one that everybody's going to go to. The greenback is just shy of the record it reached during the pandemic, and on a pace for its best year since 2020. As measured against the currencies of America's largest trading partners, it's a lofty 17% above its average over the last 2 decades. Wide-ranging indicators of the continued U.S. strength have fueled the recent gains, and the economic resilience has forced traders across markets to rapidly dial back expectations for imminent monetary easing by the Federal Reserve. Dollar bears now face the prospect of higher for longer benchmarks rates that should bolster the U.S. currency. But the dollar's vitality goes deeper than that, and don't it? It's called the U.S. military. Key pillars of support from the U.S. productivity growth and economic dynamism is a torrent of flows in American assets and homegrown technological prowess in the crucial areas such as AI reinforce the greenback's dominant role as the world's reserve currency despite any short-term ups and downs. These fundamental shorts blunt the impact of Fed rate cuts when they do happen, and by keeping the U.S. economy in front of the global peers, underpin the narrative of American exceptionalism for the foreseeable future. There's zero alternative, said something Piokatis, head of the foreign exchange strategy at Barclays Place in London. Dollar strength is about longer-term macro factors. It's not a cycle, it's a trend. Well, I'm sure people would argue with that, because if we can just throw up AI and that's going to reinforce our dollar, imagine what's going to happen when we throw up personal air vehicles and start to have blimp platforms that we can land on and transport stuff with. You'll see Amazon with blimps, and they'll have just drones flying out and delivering your package. Is it still just going to be a trend at that point, Mr. Theotakis? I mean, really, In recent weeks, big players have thrown in the towel on bearish bets made in December. Non-commercial traders, a group that includes hedge funds, asset managers, and speculative investors, have paired short dollar positions to the point that they are effectively flat, according to the latest data released by the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. Uh, paired short dollar positions to the point that where they're, yeah, that's something too. A lot of people have been shorting the dollar, and I'm talking like Soros, big people, not just small people, because they're afraid of this collapse, which isn't really going to happen for maybe around 2025. We're going to see some pain, but then they're just going to boost, in my opinion, sky travel, and then and boom, there we go again. We'll be another powerhouse. But this month, economists marked up their forecast for 20 growth to 2.1% and lowered the odds of the coming recession to 40%, according to the latest monthly Bloomberg survey of economic forecasts. If U.S. growth remains the highest among the major developed markets and the dollar interest rate don't fall that much, there is certainly no reason for the dollar to weaken. Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, it's just going to get now. This is not helping the little guy. Make no mistake. I mean, the fact that this is helping the billionaires, but you're still got your lights on. You're still eating, and you can still get some help if you need it. Um, there'll be other countries that won't have those privileges. The dollar gains this year have also notably come alongside a surge in U.S. equities, highlighted most recently by the rally in chipmaker Nvidia Inc. shares after its blockbuster earnings report last week. Yeah, I mean, I remember that story, but I don't know. That's the reason. Another reason, I work for Amazon, and we're slamming busy. I mean, it's not like I mean, we had like after the holidays, we had a little slowdown period, but we're back up to quite a few pieces each night, and we've got a back list, a back order. But anywho, yeah, look for something around 2025. We'll bring her down a little bit, but we'll still be we're coming down fast, but we're miles above anything else really, if you want to look at it that way. Like I said, look for Russia to be, in my opinion, the next world currency by probably 2035. Somewhere around there, it'll take over. The dollar will still have its relevance. Anyway, like, subscribe,